Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
Yeah, but it's like someone's having a bad day, right? And who better than yourself to be there and know that you've put every bit of effort into knowing your own craft, your own skill, than to know that and then turn up for them. So it's hard,
mate. Hats off to you. Yeah. Seriously, so much respect for what.
Most of the time, I just don't even think it's just. It could be the gruesomest stuff ever, but you just
have you been desensitized to car accidents and stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the only time I get upset is when I see a kid.
Yeah.
I don't really get upset if I see a kid that bad, and I don't want to be rude or just evil for saying that. But if I see a kid who's traumatized by what they've seen, then that upsets me more.
Oh,
it's weird. Like if you see the kid's parent has died or something like that, and then that's just heartbreaking. It's like,
I get it.
But
mate, anyway, you got plenty. Anyway, might get it when you get in nice and close to that mic, and we'll get rolling. Hey, brother.
All right,
let's do this. All right, so this is for Clementine and Otis. So shout out to our sponsors, Indosol. Recycled motor vehicle tyres made into Sandals. Indosol have distributors worldwide, so go to indosol.com, that's INDOSOLE.com, and use code THT for a discount and advocate for conscious consumerism at the same time. Crush Organics, they make CBD oils and topicals. CBD is an amazing natural supplement. It's helped me so much with my sleep, recovery, and reduced stress and anxiety. So head over to crushorganics.com. That's KRUSHORGANICS.com and use code THT at checkout for an epic 40% discount, fast shipping worldwide. Kingpin Skate Shop, man, literally all the best skate shit, especially if you love skateboarding, shoes, and carefully selected clothing brands. They're legit, they're local, they're not a franchise. Get on it. Check out their online store at kingpinstore.com. That's KINGPINSTORE.com and use code THT at checkout for a 15% discount and free shipping for orders over $25 Australian. Lastly, to help Stephen Ellis get a car, GoFundMe fundraiser. Get on it. Honestly, this coming Thursday, the 17th of June at La La La's live music venue in Wollongong. This event is put on by Minds Hip Hop. There will be numerous local artists performing on the night. It's going to be so good to see some live hip hop. Not to mention, I'll actually be recording THT episode number 111 with Stephen Ellis himself, as we like to refer to him as Stove. Will be live on stage between 6:15 and 7:15. So to get the night rolling, come on down early, watch us record, get to know Stephen intimately. And yeah, if you don't know about Stephen Ellis, he's a double leg amputee, but also like a prolific skateboarder. Like, you should see this guy skate. He's got 3 kids, and we want to improve the quality of his life. And we need a car that's around the $20,000 mark that's able to be modified to cater for his needs. So we're at about 14 grand. We're 6 grand away. We're not giving up. We've come this far. So get on down. All proceeds go to the Stephen Ellis GoFundMe. You can grab tickets via the La La La's website at www.lalalas, it's LALAS.com.au, or directly at moshtix.com, that's moshtix.com.au, or at the door on the night, but you might risk missing out. So yeah, let's do it. Big shout out to the people that are sponsoring me with some raffles on the night. Kingpin Skate Shop are throwing down some product. Crown Wollongong are throwing down some some stuff. Indosol, Crush Organics have also pitched in some products for this. So it's going to be a sick night. Let's go. Ready, Jughead? Dude, I'm so pumped. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Yeah, good to be here, man.
Whoa. Three, two, one. All right, let's do this. Today's guest is Justen Jughead Allport. Justen is a husband, father, waterman, and without question, one of the hardest charging underground big wave surfers in Australia. When he's not serving the community as a firefighter, Jughead advocates for positive mental health strategies by communing with and supporting others by sharing his own experiences, honestly and openly. Today, Jughead is with me live and on location by the swimming pool to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Justen Jughead Allport, welcome! Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Fuck, that's a lot of reading, eh, bro?
It was for me. Yeah.
What were you thinking while I was reading all that shit?
This is pretty cool.
This guy talks a lot.
Is this guy a DJ?
Maybe I will be. Hey, man, listen, I want to get stuck straight into this because I'm so pumped to have you here. And I've seen the images, I've seen the video of some of the things you do. But can you just give us a description of what it was like with the first time you were invited to the Red Bull Cape Fear event? That was back in 2016, wasn't it?
Yep.
What feelings went through you on that day when you got the invite and the call up?
There's a bit of a background on that. The fair few Hawaiian guys couldn't make it due to their contracts with the WSL Big Wave Tour, and then there's going to be the biggest swell like ever to hit the east coast of Australia, in living memory. That was going to be clean enough to produce huge pumping waves, and they're going to have a shortfall of competitors. And my name was getting thrown around a little bit on the internet, and I was just hanging to surf the waves at home. But I was very interested in seeing what was going to go down at Cape Slando, that swell.
So just to clarify, that was that infamous East Coast low swell?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was June 6 and June 7, 2016. And I was on the fire truck the day that Mark Matthews messaged me and said, "Hey, you interested?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
so Mark Matthews called you out.
Well, it was weird. There was a fair few things going around on different social media websites saying what day it should run. People were thinking that the Monday the 6th was going to be too big and just not handling that. And everyone's like, definitely run it the next day. But Mark put on social media, like, should we run on June the 6th or June the 7th? And, there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there going, as if you wouldn't run June the 6th. So that was the biggest day, and, it was huge. But hindsight's easy to turn back and go, yep, run it. But it just looked too big to me to hold it there. But at the same time, I was one of the guys going, yeah, run it. Like, I want to see this. I had no idea I was going to be invited into it. But I was like, yeah, run this. And then, I get invited into it. And then, with 2 days' notice. And but I was sort of pumped. And, I just remember rocking on the bus into Cape Slando the morning of and just seeing what I saw. And I had my 3 kids and my wife with me. And I'm just looking at it going, just hurry up and start this contest, because my nerves were like nothing else. Like, my anxiety was like nothing else. And I was like, the more I look at it, the worse I'm going to feel about it. Just let's run this. And in all seriousness, I wanted to surf, but I just wanted to hurry up and surf. And as it was, I was first heat of the morning. And when we all went into this little room.
So all eyes were on the first heat.
Yeah, well, we all got called into this little room, and it's like, we're going to vote to run it, because we were there for 2 hours with no running of the comp. And we're like, is it going to run or not? And so many rumours, like, you can't run it and this and that. And then they put it to a vote, and it's going to be a silent vote. And you write yes or no on a piece of paper, throw it in a hat, and they pull it out. No pressure to surf. We don't want anyone to have pressure to surf. And just as we're about to write down, like 20 of us or 16 of us, we're about to write individuals without anyone knowing who wrote what, Kobe Evans stands up and says, "Are you kidding? We're running this thing." And I just like snuck out of the room while the people were still talking about it and went and put my wetsuit on. I was like, okay, someone's just called it. Put your wetty on and let's get out of there.
So Kobe Evans just made the call for everyone.
Yep. And I was squatting in this room. Everyone's standing around the outside of this room. And I was squatting down just looking at people's faces. And I'm not going to lie to you, I had fear written all over mine. But I'd seen some of the guys I look up to and just went, wow, that guy's scared. I know that guy is. So is that guy. And I'm just looking around this room just going, wow. But, I was scared. I was scared as hell. But, yeah, let's get this show on the road.
Okay, I'm going to put you on it a little bit. Like, how do you manage those feelings then prior to it? We'll put it in surfing context. How are you managing those feelings moments before you paddle out or jump in the water on a day like that?
So that day, I just remember I was like nearly like I am now. I feel weird. Like I've got anxiety now just talking to you here because I don't know. But it's just, I found it really hard to manage it. Like I had my kids there. I had to think about them, which sort of helped. But then I had to block them out and just go, no, I can't look at, I've got to look at the waves. And I was like, the more I look at the waves and not knowing if I'm going to have to surf now or not, the more I'm going to get my anxiety level up. I just have to take it a step back and not look at the waves, shut my eyes, breathe again, and just start telling myself, look, as soon as you catch a wave, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Until then, you're going to have to do everything in your power to relax, and it's not easy for me to do that. So just take your mind off it until the call's made, and then just as soon as it is, get out there as soon as you can. So that's what I did. Like I was paddling around in that lineup by myself. There was 2 jet skis out there, but I jumped off the rocks, paddled out by myself where all the other boys jumped in a boat and went around, and I waited for 40 minutes just dodging sets. Just thinking, I might be able to paddle into one.
What?
Had no clue.
So
I was never going to, but I thought I was. And I got out there. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting drawn into the takeoff spot, duck diving huge waves, trying to find a line up. But it was the best thing I did because it calmed my nerves like nothing else.
Yeah.
I was like, that's where I'd rather be, in the ocean like that, I'd rather be in the ocean like that instead of on the land, thinking all the worst things.
Gotcha. So would you say being inside your head is a scarier place than being out in those waves?
100%. That's like all the what ifs that are never going to happen or that are 1 in a million chance of happening. I think of those things and it's just a mind fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, you're making swear, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I swear, like, mate, all the bad words have been said on this podcast.
Cool. Sorry.
All of
them. So, and it's a mind fuck. It's like, are you serious? Like I'd just rather be out there and doing it.
Prior to say that day, you mentioned earlier that just before that, anxiety's been an issue for you in your life. Prior to that day, had you already been struggling with feelings of like in life in general? Had you been struggling with anxiety? Like, is it an ongoing thing throughout most of your life or?
No, I just sort of faced that fact probably 2 years earlier, maybe 1 year earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 years earlier. I just faced that fact. And the anxieties I had throughout my whole life, I didn't see them as anxieties. I didn't know what they were. I didn't understand until maybe 1 or 2 years before that. And, when I look back now, I just go, wow, I could have made so many different changes, but you know what? I can't take them back, so I just roll with the punches and just look at myself like, hey, that was my life before. I knew I had anxiety, and now, there's so many things I know about now that I can change.
Yeah,
and just help me deal with that a lot differently and in my eyes a lot better.
It's pretty impressive that someone who had acknowledged that they suffer from anxiety that may be sort of disabling to you at times.
Yep.
And then actually overcoming it to surf some of those waves that you do. Pretty impressive, bro.
Yeah, I think about it sometimes but that was my release from anxiety as well. So just being in the ocean.
Why? How?
Because my anxieties were mainly on land, or always on land, and my way to escape reality and my way to escape all these negative thoughts that bring on anxiety, like what ifs. That's what mainly gets me. The what if this happens or what if that happens, and that was something that I started consciously now knowing that I used to start thinking that when I was probably 12 to 14, all these bad what ifs, and maybe it was around when my parents broke up when I was like 10 to 12 that's when they all start coming out in me. What if like my dad's away working, and what happens if my mum's out at the time, but what happens if she died right now? What would happen? And all those little tiny things. But then as I am now, I still have those what ifs on similar things. And I just think, wow, why didn't that, if I knew how to fix that problem when I was 12, I wouldn't have that now. And I'm working on it now. So that's pretty cool that I can understand now that a lot of my anxieties are things that I never fixed when I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. What does working on it look like for you?
It's a challenge. It's a daily challenge because I just go back to old ways so often. And it's so easy for me to know that I'm going back to my old ways and still do it. And I just have this mental fight within myself to say to myself, for the 5th day in a row, I've just woke up and done the exact same thing for 5 days in a row, and it's the exact same thing I know not to do if I want to deal with this, but I still continue to do it. And I end up having to try and challenge myself to say to myself, hey, you know what to do. Get back there and do it and stop taking the easy way out, which in turn is the hardest way.
Yeah. It's the road less travelled.
Yeah.
Like walking through the pain. Would you say that's something?
Yeah.
Like you're not avoiding the pain?
I know. And sometimes I used to try and ask myself, am I just punishing myself on purpose? For what reason?
Mm.
And I didn't know what reason. And yeah, I eventually found some of the reasons I was punishing myself, but it was, it doesn't make sense now. But at the time it did.
How are you punishing yourself?
Well, for instance, I lost my brother to suicide, and I didn't deal with it for so long. But when I finally come to terms with it, it was 3 or 4 years later, and I was in the deepest hole that I'd been in my life. And I stopped surfing for 12 weeks or more, and I didn't know why. I felt really flat. The only thing that made me happy was hanging out with my kids. And I just didn't surf, and I didn't know why, and nothing could get me to surf. And I honestly didn't know why, and I figured it out. Hadn't dealt with my brother's death. And the way I felt to deal with it was stop doing what I love. I don't know why. That was my way, but that was my way. And so I thought, I'm just punishing myself because my brother died and I didn't deal with it. And I don't know how that made any sense, but that's how my body and my mind was just taking over me. And that's what happened. And yeah.
Bro, thanks for sharing that, man. I really yeah. Thank you, man. It's hard. I've been touched by suicide in my family as well, and also a friend just last year. And I think for me, the confusion that comes afterwards and the feelings of I wish I did something or I wish I did more, and if I just had said this to them, and it almost personally drove me crazy, just that loss and grief. And it's what I did personally, and I think I retreated and isolated and didn't talk about it, and that was the sickest way to do it. It made me sicker, and I felt terrible. Would you say was that your natural inclination to retreat and avoid?
Oh, 100%. No one, this was 2012, and I felt there was a bit of a push for mental health and suicide prevention, sort of just a few years later than that sort of thing. And I wasn't embarrassed by it. I just didn't want to talk about it, just not at all. And I had 3, really young kids at the time, and I didn't want to expose them to it.
Yeah.
And not, they knew their uncle died, but they didn't understand why or how, and I didn't feel that I needed to tell them at the time. So then, not only did I feel I didn't need to tell them, I just I'd cry myself asleep some nights, but I'd just try to tell myself I didn't have to deal with it properly, which I didn't. And I'd just, I didn't like anyone asking me about it because, I didn't feel, it was very personal to me. I didn't want to share my feelings with other people, especially, some people I just was like, what do you care really? Like, you didn't know my brother, or what do you care really? Like, that was just my inner thoughts. So I didn't want to really share it with anyone. And I was happy not to. But then, eventually it took its toll. Like 4 years later, 3 years later, 2 or 3 years later, I was just in the darkest hole. I'd go to work. I'd communicate minimal with my work colleagues, and, nothing could really make me super happy, and nothing really made me super sad. And I just lived through my kids and was really just, had no life myself for a fair few months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was definitely wasn't estranged from my wife, but I never really shared my inner hurt with her, which, like far out, she would be the first one there for me always. And so, yeah, I was just fully withdrawn from all my friends as well. And yeah, looking back now, I just feel so silly, because all I want to do now is help some kids that have gone through that and help them realise that the quicker you deal with it, the easier it is to get yourself out of there, and the quicker you deal with it, the less trauma you're going to cause yourself and others around you, and the easier it is to understand your way out of it. Yeah.
What does it do for you when you share your experience with that with someone else? What's it doing for you? Because you're helping them, but what's it doing for you?
Yeah, so if it's with someone who's affected by.
Yeah, if you want to grab that mic closer, yeah, that's probably easier.
Yeah, definitely if it's like anyone that's been affected by suicide, or anyone that's been affected by a tragic loss like that, just talking to them, it helps them understand that someone else has gone through that, and they're not just talking to a psychiatrist that's getting paid by the minute, or or they're not just talking to someone who's gone to school and learned something about it. They're actually talking to someone who's had experience, like real life experience, and normally those people are the ones that care a lot more, and that's what I've found by talking to.
It's empathy, bro.
100%.
I'm not saying psychologists don't have levels of empathy, but there's a level of. They've got great strategies. I think psychologists are great. I'm an advocate for them, but they need to be combined with what you're doing, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. A guy by the name of Matt D reached out. I reached out to him, and he had experienced suicide through his sister, and his brother and his grandmother had all suicided, and that guy had just gone through so much, and just having a chat to him on the phone, and then another chat a bit later, and then finally meeting him in person and chatting. I didn't feel like I was another number, just another minute ticking over, and get out the door and another next person in. I felt like I was having genuine, conversation with someone who'd been through what I'd been through, and had some understanding. And I was just hoping that he could point me in a direction that could get me out of this hole. And the weird thing was, Matt suffers from anxiety like no one I know. But he's still here. As many times as I honestly believe he could take his own life because of how low he's been and what he's been through, he's still here, and he's an advocate for suicide prevention, and he's an advocate for helping people. And me myself, I've been through that stage where for 6 months I will not want to talk to anyone about suicide. I can't deal with that. It's just I'm just done with it. I cannot deal with it, and I don't want to deal with it. And he goes through those stages a lot, and I totally understand why, because it's draining, so draining. But then you can get past that and then feel the urge to, hey, I was helped out so much by him, I can, pass that on to someone else.
Fuck yeah, man. Like, it's like that whole notion of like being of service, because that's what I find when you help others, you're indirectly helping yourself, but it's also you're getting out of your head, and you're actually thinking about someone else's problems for a minute. Because I don't know about you, but I know it seems to be generally human nature. We're always just thinking about ourselves, like me and my problems, but we often forget to consider others, again, in my opinion, and that's something I definitely do, but that's the healing. Is when you're getting out of yourself and trying to help someone else who's having a hard time, you're the one that's actually winning from that as well, and it's a beautiful way. I think it's a beautiful way to live, and a beautiful way for humans to get along through this crazy life, or whatever the reason we're here.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Like, I get so much out of telling my experience to people that I talk to, and when I'm just their ears listening to them. Yeah. When I'm just,
You've been a bit... Oh, look, there's the truck. All right, that's all right. bit of background noise, it's fine. I've recorded in way louder locations than this. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Like, do you think, like, with your... Because let's face it, you have got a bit of a reputation as like someone who likes to charge. Do you feel like you had to maintain a certain image and bravado to people because of that?
No, I think I understand that you might get that perception. I think in general, like, honestly, like, seriously, like, I'm nearly 48, and anyone my age or older, just in general, as a male, I think you're just expected to have that, masculinity, and you can't show any vulnerability. And, so just anyone in general, but being a big wave surfer and stuff, I don't really feel. I understand that people say that. Like, I thought you were going to be a bigger dude, and I'm like, what?
What?
Or I thought you were going to be this gnarly type of person. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and then perceptions people get because I don't know. I'm not a footy player, mate. Like, but in general, I think just being a man, that people give you that perception, and I'm all for men being masculine. Like, I don't care if you're feminine and you're a man either. But, I think as biological the way we are, men should be men, and if they're not, that's fine. I'm not going down any path there. But man,
what are you saying? Like, it's okay to be vulnerable.
But yeah, that's what I was going to get to. So it's like, it's totally okay to be vulnerable. Like, because if you're not, you're just going to be holding so much within that you're going to struggle. Someone as weak as me will struggle if I hold it all in. So when I let it out, I feel stronger anyway. So
interesting. It's so interesting. I had a past guest on, Kirk Jenkins, his name is, a surfer from Cronulla. He made an awesome statement. He said, I'm as strong as I am weak, and I'm as hard as I am soft. And I love that. I think he meant, like, as a male, I'm the full spectrum. I can be the full spectrum. I can be hard, and I can be tough, and I can be rugged and whatever, but I can also curl up into a ball and in the fetal position and cry myself to sleep, and like, that's okay sometimes if that's what needs to happen, and like, there is that society pressure to conform to a certain stereotype and image. But I often ask that question, does that really exist, or are we just building that up in our head? Like, and I feel like more and more I'm hearing more of these conversations with men. I think men are suffering in their heads a lot. And the data just shows it, and we talk about suicide rates in males are dramatically higher than females, and it's like, okay, well, like, what's the problem there? Like, we need to address that, Maybe this is a strategy. I don't know.
Yeah, like, it's massive in males compared to females, and no one's really. There's lots of people out there that want to have an organisation to promote suicide prevention and all this sort of stuff, but who's looking at the data? Who's trying to change it? Sure, everyone's saying it's weak. It's not weak to speak, or it's, are you okay, or all this sort of stuff, but there's so much funding going into nothing.
Why do you say that?
Because you just look at Suicide Prevention Australia,
Okay.
and you look at what are they doing with their money? Like seriously, I've sort of looked into it a bit. Like, probably not enough to talk too much about it, but I just the people behind the scenes there, what are they doing? Like seriously, the statistics are just still going up.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Like how? Like I don't.
Maybe the problem's. I mean, maybe the problem's bigger than. Maybe the problem's just it's so I think entrenched in the culture of Western societies that men feel like they have to conform to that image. Like I said before, I don't know. Maybe it runs that deep, and it's going to take a long, long time to change. But I guess it is concerning when rates are going up still.
Yeah,
you know, and I mean, if we start looking at the bigger questions, it's like, well, is it our society structure in the first place? Like, you know, we have to be, you know, this whole consumer mentality, consumer society that we live in, and we have to have stuff and buy stuff, and this expectation to, you know, always, you know, invest in these material possessions that cost us money, and we work in jobs that we don't like to do that. Again, like I could go on and on about that kind of stuff. It's a big conversation, but I don't know, man. Like just if we just sort of brainstorm about it, I kind of feel like maybe that's what it is. Because when I was in Bali, okay, I don't see the local men. You know, really, they're pretty mellow. You've been to Bali a lot. They're not trying to buy everything, and they're not trying to save money. But I also see really soft men. They'll walk down the street and hold hands, and they'll cuddle in public like it's okay. And there's an innate happiness in them, and they've got the sense of spirituality, you know. And they're open about their spirituality. I don't know, different society. Bit of a rant, sorry.
No, I get what you're saying, but how often do you see the Balinese man racing to do 1,000 things at once?
Exactly, it's annoying sometimes when you need something done.
but
I get it.
That's us in general. Like we've, you know, women say that men can't multitask, but I mean, how many multitasks are going on inside your brain at all hours of the day? And no wonder the suicide rates are up there, because we're thinking 1,000 things. So are women, but we are thinking 1,000 things too many, and we're trying to please everyone before we're trying to please ourselves. And I mean, there's, you know, we please ourselves by going surfing or going skateboarding or whatever when we feel like it. But still, like we are trying to please everyone, our children the most. Like you know, we could go into that.
The rat race, the full rat race. Like it's the rat race, really. Maybe that's what's killing us. I don't know, man. But look, man, the surfer in me can't help to ask a few questions about some surf stuff. Yeah. If you don't mind, if we go that way. If you had to, like, so you've surfed Shipstone's Bluff a fair bit.
Yep.
Which wave do you like better? Like, what's more of a thrill for you, like Cape Solander or Shipstones?
Oh, I find them similar and different. Like Solander's a lot short. Actually, they're both quite short waves. Wow.
Can't compare.
Oh, you know, Shipstone's freezing. So, I mean, even when it's not freezing, it's freezing. Yeah. So, you know, down there in August, oh my goodness, I remember the first time I surfed it properly, and I was like, my mate Marty Paradises, he's just like, I'm getting you a donk one. And I'm like, mate, I'd be happy to start. Like, since I've never really caught a wave here, I'd just be happy to start with a 10-footer, mate. He's like, nah, there's 20-footers, you're getting a bomb. So I was like sitting freezing for like 30 minutes before I caught a wave. I'm like, just let me warm up. Like, just give me a little one. Like, not just warm up on the size of the waves, but warm up in my body in general, you know? And nah. Yeah. I'm getting you a donk one. And I'm like, my goodness, mate. But the water temperature that day was freezing. I thought my limbs are going to freeze up. So Solander's a bit warmer.
Yeah. Also just as warmer.
But I don't know. I think I'd rather be in Tasmania, because I can drive to Solander any day.
Yeah, true. It's a bit more of an adventure.
100%. It's the most beautiful place. Like, first time I drove around on the jet ski and seen the whole setup, I was just like, the waves are as good as they'd ever been that day too, and I was more mesmerised by the lineup. I mean, by the backdrop, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in Jurassic Park here. There's huge mountains with like cliffs with just you couldn't see anything man-made at all. It's just awesome.
Right. And it's a really raw environment.
Oh yeah. And then the waves look sort of 6 to 8 foot, and I thought, oh wow, it's not as big as everyone was saying it was going to be. And then I seen this tiny little figure of Andrew Mooney just skating down this wave that I thought was 8 foot, and then he just put it into perspective, and it was like 15 or 20 foot, just huge. And I was like, how didn't he die? Like, that was the biggest thing I'd seen for so long. He got no foot straps on, just punting into this wave. It's like over the steps and that, and I'm just like, what?
See, like another name like Andrew Mooney, Marty Paradisi, like even just like being in that company. Do you feel like a real pressure to perform in front of those guys? Because they're no joke, guys. Like, yeah,
but back then that was a fair few years ago now. So Marty was only really known for surfing shipstones back then, like because he was very young. He was only like 19 at the time, maybe 20, and so I didn't really feel any pressure. But there was only me, Andrew Mooney, and a guy from the Sunshine Coast who's amazing surfer. I'm just mind blank on his name, but there was no one there other than the locals, so there was no pressure. So,
okay.
But I have been in ways when I see people that I feel like are gods and just go, what am I doing out here?
Like, what size does it get to where you have to, like, you can't paddle anymore?
At shipstones, like 10 foot, 10 foot's like, guys have paddled bigger waves than 10 foot for sure, but there's not, there's not that many.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. Like, So like Tyler Homer Cross, he's like 10 foot. He's like 10 foot himself, but he's like definitely 6'5", and he makes big waves look not as big. But when you put me next to him on that wave, you go, that's huge. Yeah. But he paddled a really big one the other day, and guys were saying at Shippies, and guys were saying it was like 10 footer, but really thick, or maybe a touch bigger. But that was like one of the biggest waves paddled for a few years there.
Oh wow!
So I think 10 to 12 foot max.
Do you think people are grabbing for the jet ski, sooner rather than later these days?
Oh, it depends what location you're at. Like some places, like definitely at Jaws, no way. Like no one paddles with a jet ski. Oh. In Chopu, maybe no as well, because that Matahi is just paddling into the biggest things ever. Like it's guys like Russ Bjerke is just like pushing the limits of paddle surfing at shipstones as well, and anywhere he paddles, obviously. But like down at Solander, like, there's guys who are pretty eager to jump on the ski some days when they're maybe not warranted.
You've paddled Solander?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. But it depends where you are and who's around. Really.
Yeah, interesting. Oh man, like I'm just again, like I just hearing these stories, it's just so interesting to hear it firsthand, and you've travelled quite extensively, like to big wave locations.
Yeah. Like
where would you rate as like internationally, like you've maybe a big wave location that really stands out for you other than Australia?
Yeah, like California. Like
Mavericks?
I've been to Mavericks and a wave nearby called Ghost Trees.
Oh, I've heard of Ghost Trees.
Which is about an hour and a half from there.
Oh, yeah. Did you broke your leg there, right?
Yeah.
On with the toe board?
Yep.
What happened then?
Oh.
Don't tell me your foot got stuck in the strap.
Yep. 100%.
I always think that, because I've never towed with toe straps, and I'm like, I always wonder, like, how do they get their feet out in time,
Yeah. Yeah. So I flew the night before and landed in LA, and my wife paid for my travel insurance the night before and booked my ticket and everything the night before. Yeah. Next morning, I fly over there, and I land in LA, and I had a connecting flight. My surfboards and my bag with my wetsuits in it went on the connecting flight to San Fran, and just as I was about to board, I ring my mate. He's like, "We're not going to Mavericks." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "No, we're going to this wave called Ghost Trees. Change your flight, go to San Jose." And I'm like, "I can't, mate. My boards are on that flight. Checked in. I'm about to board." He goes, "Do not board that flight." He goes, I'll get my wife to pick you up in San Jose.
Yeah.
And she knows where Carmel is. I'll get her to drive you out there. We're going to be out there tow surfing. You just paddle out. I'll get a board for you. You paddle out and meet us out there. So I'm like, what? A bit of a long story, but I changed my flight. Just had a backpack with me. Just landed in LA and just went, okay, I'm going to San Jose. And I get out of there. Well, his wife picked me up, and she goes, I don't know where I'm going, but she drove to Carmel, and then Pebble Beach golf course, pretty famous golf course. Yeah. So she's.
So it's kind of in front of the golf course, is it?
Yeah, right in front. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she goes, oh, there's a mal on the roof of the car. That's what you're going to paddle out to them with. And there's a wetsuit in the bag in the back there. So I pull this wetsuit on. I'm on the, it's one of the richest golf courses around. And I pull my wetsuit on. I just put my arms in the sleeves. And
on
I'm
the
just
fairway.
On the fairway, yeah. And I'm trying to dodge the security guards because it's like a super rich place.
Yeah, yeah.
And just as I pull the wetsuit up, I realize it's got a built-in hood and I've got the wetsuit on back to front. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I've got this mal next to me. I'm peeling my wetsuit off on the green. There's 70-year-old rich guys teeing off near me. And they're looking at me and I'm nude, fully nude, trying to put my wetsuit back in the right way again. Because and then, so I quickly get that on. Security guards are coming for me. I paddle out. And just as I'm about to paddle out, this jet ski comes in near me and I'm thinking, oh, here's me mate. He's seen me. How did he see me? Cool. Anyway, the jet ski comes right up close to me and then goes. And they're looking for a lost board or something. So I paddle my way all the way out there. My mate Skin Dog just froze.
Skin Dog Collins?
Yeah. Kenny Collins. So that's who I was meeting there.
So
and it's like
legendary.
Yeah. So I randomly met that guy in Indo at Desert Point one day. But anyway, that's another story. And yeah, so he's like, Noah Johnson, who won the Eddie, he's towing with Skin Dog. And Skin Dog's like, Noah, get off. Jughead's here. And I was like, what? There's my hero. I'm just meeting him, getting told to get off. So anyway, I'm like, this isn't even that big. I tow into this wave. I'm like, this is 15 foot. I just flew all the way over the other side of the world to surf 15-foot waves, and I was a bit disappointed. And then I'd had about 3 waves, and I was just bunny hopping over all these pinnacles and boils and stuff. And then my mate's like, set from Tibet. And I'm like, what? He's like, out the back, set from Tibet, get on.
Oh, and he whips you into...
Yeah, so there was like this set, it was like 6 waves, and I'm going over the first one, like on the rope, going out to sea. We're heading out there to get it. And the rope slackened off, and then my shoulders got ripped out, and I'm whistling at him because I've fallen off. Whistling at him, and I'm thinking, no, he's going to think I'm the biggest pussy. Yeah. He's going to think I threw the rope. But I didn't. I got fully yanked off, and just couldn't hold. No. And I'm like whistling. So he turns around. I'm thinking, oh no, I hope he doesn't think I've just dogged it.
Yeah, gotcha.
And anyway, so he does a loop round. I pick the rope up halfway, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm ready to put me on anything you want. And now I'm thinking, oh shit, it's bigger than 20 foot. I thought it was like 15 foot. It looks like a bit like 25 foot, this stuff. And then I'm just like, I don't care. I'm going to go on anything. Anyway, I let go of the rope. I thought, I got to go super deep. I can't look like a pussy here. I'm going deep. And so I let go. And as I've come off the bottom, I thought, this thing's just going to mow me down. I was like, no, I just chewed off a bit more than I can eat here. Anyway, I've pulled up off the bottom, somehow just got around the whitewash, and I'm in the clear. I'm like, yes, I'm heading towards the top of the wave. I'm like, going, I just killed it. Like, I can't believe I'm alive. And I had a heap of adrenaline. I'm like, yes. I see this huge boil on the face, and I'm like, I don't want to hit that full speed and just bog into it.
Yep.
So I didn't bunny hop, but I sort of tried to just go super light-footed and sort of bunny hop over it.
Yep.
But I got a bit of air. Like fractionally, but
going fast.
Yeah. So, but enough that once my fins and rail connected, the board just slid out, and it just did a 180, and at the same time the lip just came over and just crushed me, and I'm underwater, and my back foot had slipped out, and my front foot stuck in the strap, and the board just does like 10 360s underwater, and I just spiral.
Your foot's still in it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
gnarly.
My legs just got. Like, I broke my leg in 5 spots. I broke my tibia in half, and I still have a tibial nail in it right now, like from kneecap to ankle. And
way. Like, that's a proper, it's not just a plate, that's a proper rod.
Yeah, like the whole length of my tibia. and then my fibula was broken in 4 different spots.
No.
And so I'm underwater, and I actually didn't know at that point when I'm like kicking to get to the surface, and as I'm kicking, I'm like, I've got another joint in this leg here. Like, I'm like, what is going on down there? It was not painful, but I knew I had another joint in my leg. Like, it's just bending back and forth.
Could you feel it flapping around?
Yeah, it was like mid knee to ankle is like bending back and forth as I'm kicking to get to the surface. And I'm taking a couple of big strokes. Anyway, I get to the surface. I've probably been under for a lot longer than I normally would. And I wasn't even thinking once about getting a breath. I get to the top. My mate buzzes in, Skin Dog's flying in on the jet ski, and I'm like grabbing for the sled on the back, and I jump on, and I'm like, I yelled out to him, mate, I've broke my leg, go slow. And he fangs it out of there like 100 miles an hour, and my leg's just flapping off the back there. I'm like, most of me is on the sled, but my leg's just flapping. And he pulls up, and I'm like, mate, did you not hear what I said? I've snapped my leg fully. It's like buckling back and forth. He goes, what? Did you want me to just cop that 20-foot on the head and worry about your leg? And I'm like, oh,
Gotcha,
okay.
okay.
I wasn't up on that. I was just like, let's go slow. I wasn't looking behind me. I had my head down into the sled, just,
Gotcha.
Didn't care.
Safety.
But he got me out of there. And eventually they got me onto the beach. And then he just went straight back out and surfed for the rest of the day. I was like,
what'd you do?
I'd been in LA.
What?
They put me in the back of someone's van and just took me to Monterey Hospital, which was only a quick 5-minute drive less, over heaps of speed humps.
So, like, just sorry to jump in there. Like, when did the pain really kick in? Because I've heard that with a break like that, it's like the shock sets in and you don't really feel the pain until, I don't know. Or was it instantaneous?
No, I you know what? The pain set in when I was ringing my wife going, and it wasn't leg pain. It was like, oh no, what am I going to say to her? So I'm on a gurney out the front of the hospital. They would not let me in the hospital without my medical details, my insurance details, which I didn't have on me. Like, I had a wetsuit.
Yeah, a wetsuit.
Yeah. And
you borrowed.
Yeah, that's something that got cut off me. That was like a $600 wetsuit that they cut off me. And I was like, anyway, that was the least of my worries. I was on a gurney, reverse charge call to my wife, and she's like, so what's the surf like? I go, have you got the insurance details?
You didn't tell us.
I said it was pretty big, but I'm in hospital waiting to get in. And she's like, what? I'm like, I just need the details. Like, I can fill you in on everything else soon, but I just need to get in there and get some surgery.
Okay. Bit of a serious question coming up, because that sounds like a traumatic situation in my opinion. And I know you're a fireman and you're exposed to traumatic situations quite regularly. Is that correct?
Yep.
How do you deal with traumatic situations in your head? What are you doing to stay calm?
Oh, you know what? Like,
or does it everything go slow motion and you just process it?
Yeah, I think it does. Like, that's how I feel. I don't know if that's reality, but that's my perception of it when it's happening. So,
Gotcha.
So definitely that's my perception. Like, when my oldest was really young, she was playing with rocks in the garden and like little pebbles and stuff, and she went white, she went blue, she stopped breathing, and my wife was like freaking thinking, and she's pointing to these rocks going, I think she swallowed a rock, and my daughter couldn't say anything, do anything, tears were rolling out of her eyes, but she couldn't speak, and I thought, no. So I've just gone, picked her up, turned her upside down, put her over my knee, hit her in the back a couple of times, and she spat this big chunk of like, what do you call it? Like,
Pebblecrete?
No. It was just like phlegm, basically.
Oh, right, okay.
So she just had this big like
a big
phlegm
golly.
blocker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was stuck in her throat and she couldn't get it out.
Oh,
and
is that bad?
Yeah. It was like this big chunk of phlegm stuff. But it was like she couldn't breathe. There's no way she was breathing before that happened. But I just remember saying to my wife, hey, settle down, just ring 000. And we'll work this out. And I just put my foot on the back of my Holden and just leant her over my knee, which was up higher, and just kicked like a couple of wedges on the back. And I was like, wow, I was pretty calm then, wasn't I? And I'd probably been a fireman for 6 months or something, but at that point in time. And I was just like, wow, that was pretty calm. Like, and I look back on a lot of things and think, geez, I actually handled that quite well. And then I stopped even thinking about it and just doing it.
See, I find you interesting because, you're accustomed to being in like gnarly situations and you manage. But then you're sort of also saying that everyday life is giving you anxiety. I don't know. Like, I'm just making an observation there. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. I feel more comfortable in someone else's
Do you think
pain. I
Interesting.
don't know.
Is it because is it an avoidance strategy? Like, so when you test yourself in, those situations, whether it be big waves or, being a fireman turning up to a dangerous situation, is that a form of, just numbing the noise in the head?
Yeah, and since you've actually just said that to me, why can't I numb the noise that affects me on a regular basis?
Is it still there, if you don't mind me asking, Jughead? Like, because you seem like really happy, fulfilled dude, or is that a product of the work you've done since you addressed it?
I'm not sure. Someone told me just recently that I'm always happy every time they see me.
I feel it.
And I thought, wow, that's not how I feel. And I felt like fake because they said that to me. And then I just thought, wow, that's how they see me. But on the inside, I see myself different. Like I'm struggling, But then I thought, no, that could be right because I see them less than 1% of my life. And every time I see them, the waves are pumping. So maybe that is their perception of me. And I get that because I see them when the waves are pumping all the time and I'm having a ball. So 100% I get that. But when someone says it, that doesn't mean that's cool for them to have that perception. But that, if someone hears them say that, they might not think the same thing because they might never see me in the surf. So, well, you know what? That's that guy's perception of when he sees me, but that's always in the surf. But my perception of myself isn't that because that's only 1% of my life, But I just trips me out when I got all upset about it the other day when I was telling this girl I see on a regular basis just to keep my head right. And I was telling her about that and I got upset going, wow, I'm such a fake person. That person says that I'm always like that. And I've read it in interviews with other people or heard it, on on videos and stuff like that. And I just go, wow, that's all right. Like I should just be able to live with that because that's their perception of when they see me. And just that doesn't mean I'm fake because that's not how I see myself. So I'm twisting it a little bit, but yeah,
I get it.
Hopefully, you get what I'm saying there.
No, dude, I love that. I love it. Thank you. And perception's everything.
Yeah, and just right now, you might be feeling that from me as well because I actually like to talk about what I'm talking with you about now. I like to talk about surfing, and I like to talk about the struggle I have because. Hopefully that can empower someone else to realise that they're not the only one going through a struggle like that.
You know what strikes me about you, and I've also noticed this with because Dylan Longbottom has been on the show a couple of times, and he's someone that he very much has the same interests as you. He likes to surf and he likes to get out in the big stuff, there's a distinct with you and him. I can see that commonality I see is there's a distinct lack of ego. And I just want to give you that compliment. I really feel it. It's really nice, man.
Thank you.
I just felt immediately, comfortable in your presence and, which is ironic because there's a lot of people who've maybe, especially in the surf world where it can be there can be a bit of toxic masculinity and bravado, especially with some big wave guys. But I do notice that the real guys have just got no ego and they're just really humble humans, and I love that, man. So thank you, bro.
No, that was nice words.
Thanks,
you.
man.
That's a bit.
Sorry, I don't want to embarrass. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I just want to. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm feeling from you, and it's really sweet, dude. I love it, man.
I do get the part of the ego sometimes, but because
in when,
as in, especially if, I wouldn't really just say that the Red Bull comp, but I just mean when you're around a lot of guys, and there's not that many waves on that day, and it's we're trying to, we're not trying to outdo each other, but we're trying to get our waves, and it does sometimes come across like, hey, that guy's got a bit of ego, and I think that about other people. And as soon as I do, I just go, wow, you're judgmental. Imagine what they're thinking about you, mate. Like, they're probably looking at you going, you've got half the credentials of me.
Yeah.
Like they might be thinking that of me, that I've got half the credentials of them, and I'm trying to beat my chest, trying to catch a wave off them as well. Yeah. So, like we were talking perception before, it's like, wow, like maybe I do feel like I'm humble a lot of the time, but maybe I'm coming across like I'm not.
Yeah.
And yeah, here right now with you for sure. Like, but
a competitive surf lineup.
Yeah, put me
like
there.
The mongrel comes out.
No, I wouldn't say like I change as a person, but I do feel like I got to push it a bit more to try and get a wave.
Like alpha male?
And I hope I don't, but I'm sure I do come across like that sometimes, at stages. I hope I don't, but obviously I would for sure, because I want to catch a wave. And that's what brings me to not wanting the surfing crowds.
But that's the nature of the game, especially these days when everyone surfs.
Oh, how many big wave surfers there are today? Yeah. Like, mate, every man and his dog can put on a vest and paddle out and just take it on. And I used to hate on people for that. I used to be so judgmental. Like, you've got no experience. You've got no reason to be out here. You're just going to put other people in danger. But you put that vest on and you can pull the pin and inflate it and get yourself out of danger, but you're not. You're actually putting people in danger. And I used to be so judgmental on guys that do that. And I've actually I wouldn't say I've come full circle, but I've just got a lot more tolerance and a lot more understanding of people just wanting to be out there and enjoying what I'm enjoying too.
Yeah. Did inflatable vests change your mentality out in bigger stuff?
No, I've never pulled one.
You've never pulled one?
Once I have, and I was.
But even just having one on.
When I say once I have, I was swimming, just going for an ocean swim, and I'd never used one before, and I'm gonna I'd had one for 18 months and never used it. And I went, and I had an injury. I couldn't surf. And I'm like, I'm going swimming. I'm going to pull that thing.
Sick, dude. Just to see what it did.
Just to see what it do. I was like, my daughter and my son were the only ones that had pulled that thing.
So what'd you do? Like swim to the bottom of the ocean, swim down, on dry land.
Yeah, on dry land they did. But no, I just got one of the lifeguards to drop me out. And it was like 10-foot day at North Shelley. And I was like, I'm going to swim in, but I'm going to try and get flogged first. I actually got on the drop me at a certain bommy. At this wave, it wasn't even good, but it was just big, and I felt like I never went deep enough to pull it, so I never pulled it. I kept going, I'm waiting to go deep so I can pull this thing. So
you swam into the impact zone, and tried to swim under a few sets.
Yeah, but nothing pushed me deep enough. So I'm like, I don't want to pull it while I'm nearly at the surface. I want to pull it when I'm feeling like I'm going deep.
So you didn't feel like you're in enough trouble to pull it.
But it was weird, because I've been at that place and I wish I had one of those things. But I'm out there this day trying to make the worst thing happen to me, and it couldn't happen.
I'm just curious, like even though you haven't pulled one in the surf, like even having one on, does it change your mentality out there? Because I mean, you were obviously surfing big waves without them before they were invented, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, does it give you this mental security?
I don't know.
Oh, it's all right, I got the vest on, fuck it.
Because I thought that if once I ever wore it like a flotation or a vest, I thought I'll just go anything.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going anything now. Like this is like 15 years ago. I'm like, I feel like I'd just go anything now. So if I had one of those, I'd be going even harder. I'd be like, that's what I thought. But yeah, I still pull back with or without it. Like, yeah.
Man, I pull back all the time. 4-footers. Anyway.
I do too. I do. That's why people like. It just blows me away. People just have an expectation that I'd not pull back, or people have an expectation that I don't get scared.
Yeah.
Like in certain days, like I get scared on 6 foot.
Yeah,
like 100% I do.
Yeah.
And like people, like especially young guys, are trying to explain that 100%.
Like fear's fear.
Fear's fear, and like far out, I love it.
You love the fear.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it.
That's the difference.
But it's still fear, but
gotcha.
So I'm still scared.
I say, do you acknowledge the fear? You go, yep, I'm scared. Yep,
100%.
And you'll say it, like I'm scared.
100%.
So do you think that's by acknowledging it, it takes away its power?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I think you're onto something there, because it's like I used to explain it to people like, so just imagine like of kid being scared of a roller coaster, because I used to be scared going on the big roller coasters, and I remember getting to the top, and I'd be like, what the hell did I go on this for? Because I know I'm scared as,
Yeah.
and then you get down the other side, and then the adrenaline will be pumping, and you get to the bottom, and you're like, yes, and then you get off, and you're like, I'm going back on.
Yes.
And I'm like, but actually, I did that with a thing called the Big Drop. I got on it, and we went to the top, and we were at Dream World, and I was so far up. There's a helicopter was flying lower than us, and I'm going, what did I get on here for? And I was just petrified, and the thing just drops without you knowing, like, when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'd be like laughing at my mate next to me, going, it's going to go now, and doing all this sort of weird sort of stuff. And then it'd drop, and my heart would go up here, and through, and then I'd like, I'm never doing that again. But then I'd go and step back on that line and get back on it and do it. And I'm petrified of heights, and I just keep, and I'd do it, but, and then
just because, like, you're like, okay, well, how do you feel when you're in a situation you don't do it? How's the feeling afterwards?
What do you mean you don't do
it? Well, let's say you're in a situation where you feel challenged, you feel scared, but then you retreat.
Yeah.
Is the pain of that worse than facing? You know what I mean?
100%. That's why we do it.
That's what I learned. Yeah. And I actually had it recently, not even in surfing, because I'm really into boxing, and I'm actually having an amateur fight in September. And I was sparring one night. I got hit quite hard during the round, and then I didn't want to I didn't get back in the ring, and I went home that night, and I was just so down on myself, and I kept thinking about it. And then it happened again on Saturday. In like the second round, and then I was like, we're just sparring too, mind you, and I got hit quite hard in the gut, and I dropped, and I was on the side of the ring waiting for my next round. I was like, I'm not going back in. Fuck this. I'm not going back in. But I was like, but I remembered the pain of, and I went back in, and I must admit, it was just like, oh yes, like, and it's like the old saying, like, you got to get back on the horse, right?
Yeah, for sure. And man, that's sick.
Yeah. So I kind of relate to you on a real lower level.
Oh, yeah. I know I've pulled back on waves and just go, oh my goodness.
How do you feel, man?
I might not get
feeling.
And waves are so individual.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just get that wave again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can go back in the ring with that guy, but I can't catch that wave again. Like, and it's like, I might wait 6 months, 2 years, 4 years for a wave similar to happen.
Yeah.
The pain can last for a lot longer than waiting for your next gym session. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, and man, I've had a few nightmares from times I haven't gone away,
Yeah.
Just thinking about it like a week later, just going, you idiot.
Or if you pull back in like front of people, or you know what I mean. I remember a friend of mine was in Mexico, and he was at that Rip Curl Search event at Barra de la Cruz. You know that one, that epic one, the Andy Irons one? Because anyway, cut a long story short, he was in a free surf. And there was this one wave, and he was on the inside, and Mick Fanning wanted that way. And Mick Fanning said to him, like, do you want this one, man? Because I really want it. He's like, it's your turn, but I want it. He's like, yeah, I got it. And he just, like, last minute, too late. And he goes, I just paddled straight in. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror,
Wow.
But it's like, it's all perception and ego. And Mick Fanning probably didn't give a shit,
Yeah.
But, we beat ourselves up, dude.
100%.
Would you say you beat yourself up?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I'm working on. Like, I beat myself up so hard if I make a mistake.
I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We fuck up sometimes, Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah. Oh, I do too often. In life in general is enough to like, and you know what, I'm trying to work on that. Yeah, do not beat myself up over the fuck ups I have in general life, because man, you could just be thinking about them forever and ever, and what a waste of negative energy. What a waste of energy it is.
Fully, man. And for me personally, that breeds anxiety, and it's just like, no, man, just be kind to yourself. Yep, you're a flawed human. Just fucking accept it, But I also like the fact that when you try to learn from it too.
Yeah.
It's when people don't, or choose not to learn from it, or just become oblivious to it. That's a concern.
I'm a late learner. I'm a very late learner. I'm only learning this sort of stuff now, like like in the last year, I'd say.
So good.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Well, listen, it's been epic. I'm so grateful for your time. And I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. And we talked about it a little bit. Well, have you got something for me, or do you want me to? Okay, so we talked about, and it's at the moment it's the week of Stephen Ellis or our friend Stove and Jughead. You happy to advocate for our mate?
For sure. Like Steve Ellis sounds like the legend.
Thanks, bro. And I was Steve, if you're listening to this, I was telling Jughead all about you. Yeah, so go and support the Steve Ellis GoFundMe. I'm not fucking giving up. There's a bunch of people who are really pushing this. We're not giving up till we get him a car. Okay, so it's a real tangible, easy one. So get on the GoFundMe and maybe come to La La La's on Thursday, the 17th of June. So this podcast episode is now being published on Sunday. So yeah, you've got, get there, get a ticket on Moshtix and support the cause.
Yeah, get to La La La's for sure.
Thanks, Jughead.
Legendary.
Dude. That's really nice of you, bro, for advocating for that. The other thing, my friend, is I've got a gift for you from our friends at Indosol. It's not here, but they'll have a pair of, they're sending you a pair of shoes in the mail as they do every guest.
You're kidding.
So you'll be getting
I've always loved them.
Have you heard of them?
100%. I've always loved them and never had a pair.
Dude, well, you get a pair.
I just love what they're about. The whole deal. Dude, awesome.
Same. And like, they're just the nicest guys who have got their heart in the right space, Yeah, so you'll get a pair of flip-flops or slides.
Sick.
And yeah, man, you can listen to this episode on a variety of different platforms other than the one you're listening to on right now, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. And as always, it really helps if you subscribe or leave a review, and helps me to keep the podcast going weekly so I can speak to legends like Justen, Jughead, Allport. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
I'm stoked, man.
Thank you.
I almost don't want to go.
We'll do it again one day. Eh?
Would you come on again?
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Love you, man. Oh, yeah, and a shout out to Brendan Newton.
Yeah, Brendan.
Mutual friend. He was on the guest, and if you haven't listened to Brendan's episode, it's live now. Get on it, man. He's a great guy. So
I haven't listened to his second one, so...
Dude, he's a classic.
I'll listen to it on the way home.
His stories about getting punched in the head at Pipeline are so funny.
Wow. I did quickly share that. I watched him get chased.
Oh, yeah, you did.
At Crackneck.
Oh, you
Car
did.
park.
Do you want to tell that story or we're going to go? Got to go. Yeah, I've got to go. Tell it another time. All right, mate. Love you, brother.
All right. Thanks for having me.